The Emperor's New Clothes is a story about an emperor who pays two con artists posing as tailors to make new clothes for him. The con artists then lie to the emperor and say that they have created magnificent garments made out of material that only stupid people cannot see, and the emperor then parades naked through the city as people praise his gorgeous vestments for fear of looking stupid. And so, I can only conclude that the two swindlers in the story are the original founders of Bethesda Softworks. Reviewers continue to throw award after award to Bethesda games, like horny teenagers shooting fluids at photos of Angelina Jolie. But having played their games myself, I've concluded that there must be some sort of conspiracy to make these games seem better than they actually are. Either that, or my game boxes were mistakenly packed with DVD-shaped fertilizer instead of games. My first experience with Bethesda was Morrowind, a slightly antiquated gaming experience by today's standards, but still easily one of the greatest games of its time. Aside from unnecessary and light-tastic ash thorns and the fact that the game was prone to fatal instability, its massively detailed freeform environment with endless quests enthralled me so thoroughly that heroin addicts pitied me for my vice. When Bethesda later released Oblivion, I eagerly plunged headfirst into what I thought was another massive immersive world, only to discover it was not quite as deep as I was expecting. After deciding on being a rogue and watching Captain Picard get shivved, the game narrative dumped me in a field and wandered off, much like my parents at happy hour. I managed to stumble my way to the nearest town, where I gained a few levels by lying, stealing, and generally being a rogue. I then left the city and discovered the awesome alchemy skills I had developed helped very little when I promptly had my ass handed to me by a minotaur. To understand why this happened, you need a bit of background. Every RPG on the planet works as follows. You earn experience to gain levels, which rewards you with new abilities, which enables you to get through more challenging areas of the game. Bethesda looked at this golden gameplay model and said, "Fuck that shit," and proceeded to cock it up. At the beginning of Oblivion, you tell the game what kind of class you want to play. The game then increases your various skills as you use them, and increases your level as you increase your class skills. Rather than have an increasing difficulty curve through the progressive areas of the game, Bethesda uses leveled difficulty, which means that the enemies you encounter at all locations are scaled to your level. This means that if you were stupid enough to choose a non-combat class, you will die a horrible death the second any enemy hears you break wind. This also means that Oblivion is the only game in existence where gaining a level feels like a punishment to be avoided because your level is nothing but a giant green flag for monsters to show up and rape you. This frustrating game feature turns Oblivion into a number-crunching smackfest as you try desperately to raise your skills in a way that does not result in minotaur sodomy, sucking away any illusion of immersion or fun. However, since you only gain levels while resting, you can avoid those pesky levels by never sleeping. Or you can do what I did and simply restart the game and tell it you are a mage. You can then happily sneak around the entire game at level 1 and stab rats to your heart's content, while the game continues to assume you are just a really shitty mage. You might call this cheating the system, but I say I am just such an awesome rogue that I can lie to the very game itself. Astoundingly, terrible leveling is only the tip of the proverbial iceberg of Oblivion's problems. In spite of the sheer size of the world, the game feels mostly empty. The various dungeons you encounter feel like they were created by a monkey with a random Mad Lib generator throwing darts at the map. And the game is so buggy and prone to crashing that if it were offering me a ride home, I would rather take my chances with Richard Petty, Evil Knievel, and Toonses the Cat all blindfolded. Many years passed and the pain of Oblivion began to fade until a new Bethesda game loomed on the horizon, and after the entire world told me it was fun, I actually played Fallout 3.
This is my story.
After recreating my Oblivion character in every way short of being a cat, I set out into Fallout's post-apocalyptic wasteland to seek out the fun I had been promised. At first the game was slightly awkward, like the first time I ducked behind a wrecked car for cover and discovered that they explode when shot. And while I was somewhat perplexed that the sound of my magnum did not break my stealth, I soon found myself actually having fun. Gaining a level was rewarding again, the story was engaging, and the VATS targeting mode made me feel like I was actually good at shooting games. But as I got further into the game, something began to gnaw at my motivation. I was running through fields of broken garbage to get to broken buildings and broken sewers where I used broken guns to shoot people with broken armor to obtain broken trash to buy things from my dirty, broken, garbage-filled, broken house. At least when the broken coding of the broken game was not breaking my sanity. Aside from being a little too close to reality, this gameplay started to eat at my motivation. There are only 2 major towns in the game, and nobody in either can repair your gear past 50%. Those of you who are optimists may see this as half repaired, but as a professional pessimist, to me it meant half feces. leaving me with the feeling that the game was constantly leaning over my shoulder saying,
"Boy, your gear sure is broken, and you're almost out of ammo. You should really find a place to repair and stock up." "Oh wait, you can't!"
But in spite of the game's protests and compounding errors, I continued through the game's story, reassuring myself that at any moment I would find a real city with armorsmiths and chocolate hookers to make everything all better. It was at about this point that I suddenly burst through the back wall of the game and was shocked to find out I had accidentally completed it, utterly ending the game with no possible way to continue and no reward. There are two possible endings to the game, but they both sort of leave you feeling the same, like you were somehow cheated out of the good feelings the game was supposed to give you for completing it. And because the game does not allow you to play past the ending, even if you are the big hero, you are not around to experience the glory. And while you might argue that a real hero does not do things for praise, I would counter by saying that I am not a real hero. I am a shallow person who wants to feel important and validated, and that is why I am spending time I could be using to volunteer at the hospital to play a video game instead. Feeling slighted by the game, I decided to play through it again purely out of spite. Learning from my last attempt, I designed a new character who excelled at repair and melee weapons, so that I would not have to worry about durability or ammo. To my surprise, this suddenly made the game fun again, both because the nagging demon of durability was gone, and because sneaking up on unsuspecting people with a baseball bat was just implicitly funny. Terrified that I was having genuine fun, the game panicked and pulled a last resort by crashing so hard it caused critical hardware failure in my video card, which I then had to replace. One trip to Best Buy later, I installed my new graphics drivers only to find out that Fallout 3 no longer worked at all. Perplexed, I visited their site to try to look for a troubleshooting page, only to find out that no such page existed. I guess I should not blame them. It is not like their games are prone to any kind of errors like other games are. Do you remember when you were playing Half-Life 2 and you were having fun until an ash storm showed up, lowered your frame rate to 1 frame per second, and then your computer crashed? Or remember when you were playing Doom 3 and casting an alteration spell caused your game to bug out and corrupt your save files? Or how about the time you were playing Warcraft and you had to replace your video card because the game fucked it to death? Oh wait, those were all Bethesda games. Bethesda apparently skips playtesting and then acts surprised when their games fail, which makes as much sense as a car manufacturer mass-producing cars without driving them and acting surprised when they don't start, leaving me wondering whether Bethesda is astoundingly lazy or just dangerously deluded with overconfidence. And while I continue to feel annoyed that Bethesda has my money, I have a sneaking suspicion that I may just be jealous, because I really wish I could figure out how to get people to praise me and throw me awards for selling them fart sandwiches with Branston Pickle.